Right. Okay, we're going live. I think, yes, we are live now. I'm live. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm very happy to connect with you today today, in this moment and in every moment. Yeah, here we are. I think that, let me just, yeah, yes, I'm live. We're live. Okay, I'm a little bit too much close. Let me go a little bit. There we are. Yeah, so I think that, I'm just wait a little bit. Just a couple of chatty. So, yeah, here we are. I'm a little bit nervous. So I decided to do this video and to talk about this topic. Am I qualified? And I realized that I even didn't put the question mark, which is a good sign. That's very good. I forgot the question mark. No, I didn't. And obviously I did not forget the question mark. That's appropriate not to put the question mark there. And I'm very happy I didn't. So I decided to do this video because this week my neighbor, I was talking with her, she asked me about my job. And I told her that I'm out of job. However, somebody said, oh, hi, hello, Roxy, welcome. However, when she asked me, and then oh, hello, JP, welcome. So when she asked me that, I was unable to answer straight away. I answered, but I was not able to tell her what I'm doing. I was still confused, and the words were not coming out of my mouth, and I was like, oh, fuck it. Yeah, I'm a healer. I'm working with energies and this kind of thing, and I couldn't give a sentence of it. I was embarrassed, right? Simple question and such a difficult answer. And so yesterday I was talking about this, and I realized that the thing is that I am the one confused. Or that I have to really change my mindset. So I'm changing so many things right now. So this is just part of the process. It's nothing I did nothing wrong. I just signaling myself that I have to work on this, and I have to be more clear about this. For me, for myself. So this is one thing about this video. And the second thing about these videos is that I'm going to talk about things that I've been told don't talk about this. So obviously, even if that has been a very long thing to come here, but obviously when someone says to me, don't talk about this, in the end, I'm gonna talk about this because it's me, and I am the one deciding if something is appropriate or not. And yes, it's certainly personal stuff, and I'm gonna talk about people behind their back. It's not behind their back, obviously, but I'm gonna talk about people. So yeah, it's in the idea of some people, this is not correct. They are not here. They cannot, but I don't care. This is my perspective, right? So that's what you get by coming here, my perspective. And that's all you get. And it's about me. So that's all there is. And I think that it's important just to realize that it's not someone else that has to decide for you. And some stuff, maybe it's also that it's in that moment it was too early, or I will have talked about this from a perspective of a victim. And I think it's important to just say in the beginning and to repeat it, I'm not talking about victimization. I'm simply talking about things that have happened, that are in my memory, and that have happened, right? Even though it's not right now. But this is also my process right now, is to go through things that come up in the moment. They just pop up, and I need to go through them. So it's not about victimization. It's about, we'll see, right? Because it's linked. So without spending any more time turning around it. So um, and I realized this watching even more closely what Roxy does, and many other are doing, and I realized that I was keeping distances and not involving myself enough in my in what I do, in what I express. I thought I was doing it, but I realized that I still was keeping distances. And so this is another thing that I'm working on right now, is to take away that those breaking those walls, right? Breaking that fear of exposing myself too much, because what can I hold back? What can I really be afraid of, right? But these are all things I realized that coming into this and in working all of this, I realized that I'm now facing my belief systems, my core belief system that I've been bringing along, taking with myself all along, and that are still there, and that make me think in a certain way or act in a certain way, and where I perfectly know that is expressing lack, that is expressing unworthiness, right? I know that from a technical or from a theoretical point of view, but then right now it's not theory time. Now it's application. It's exercise. It's doing it. And there is nothing that makes you advance in your knowledge, in your expertise, than to do it, to live it, to express it on your skin, right? On you, because that takes away any hiding or any trying to avoid it. You can't avoid it. It's there. It's happening. And so you have only one way to go, and the way to go is inside of you, and explore it and accept it, and be it, become it, and discover yourself even more, even in a more deeper way. And in the end, what remains is you. And it always makes me think about we're talking about Dune right now with the movie, and there is a litany against fear in Dune, and the thing goes, I will not. I will accept my fear. I will look into my fear. My fear will pass through me, and when fear has passed, I will look back at my fear, and I will see that what is remaining is me. Something like that. So, right, it's something that goes through you, and even if you have resistance, you have fear, you have whatever, in the end, what remains is you, a new you, a new me, and a evolution of me. Or, well, we are all constantly evolving and changing, right? That's the absolutely. But that that happens all the time, but then there are moments where it happens, as always, but in a way that comes from the inside, from a work that you're doing, from a evolution that you are experiencing consciously, and that is changing you even deeper, from the perspective of, right, of human reality, obviously, because you're not changing the creator, the God that you are. It's the human experience that you are having, right? That I am having here. It's what human came here to do. So this is exactly this evolution. So the thing that I want to talk about is, it's sort of a origin, right? That the Marvel movies, the MCU, and the first movie is about the origin of the character of the superhero. So, but I think that, right? Let's go into it. Even though I have no idea how to start talking about it, but I think that I'm going just to go like that, what comes out. So I live in Switzerland and I was born in Switzerland. However, I'm totally Italian as an origin, and I've been living in the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, and so for the first 20 years of my life. And it's a very traditional environment, meaning my family is traditional, Christian traditional, with a lot of lack in it. So everyone in the family has been expressing lack all along. Though they have abundance, but no one sees that. So, and there is a lot of trauma and a lot of conflict coming from that, and misunderstanding, and people talking with people, and then not talking anymore, and then going back to talk, and then going back to having problems. And so my mother is the fifth child, and I'd say the accident, I guess, the last child of my grandparents, and my father is the same thing. He's the last child of his parents, and they married, I'd say, it's not an accident, but by accident, because my father was about to marry another woman until he met my mother, and he married my mother for about 5-6 years, and then when they divorced, my father went back to the previous woman, and they're still together today. But that's relevant in the story because obviously that created dynamics and problems between these characters, and that had influences in the way they build up their relationship with the children that were born. So I was born as the first child, and it was quite an accident because my father didn't want children, but then he got in the hospital, and he was very sick, nearly died. And when he came out, it was not able to stop the process of having children. That's how he presented. It doesn't make sense because, I mean, if you don't want to have children, you know what you have to do, right? So if you do, if you have intercourse with a woman, you know that having children is something that can happen. So the story that my father gives doesn't make sense. But I think when I heard that as a child, that was quite for me a violence, because then it became my thought the fact that my father ended up the way he ended up with my mother right at the divorce, because he was saying, well, that they stayed married longer because I was born, and that if I didn't, if that didn't happen, if I weren't there, he would probably have divorced my mother before. So it was my fault if he stayed with her 2 years longer, no, 3 years longer, and had another child with her. Even though the paternity of my sister is not sure, I mean that there are rumors that she may have another father. Right? I'm giving here the story as it comes. In the way that he has been presented to me. So that is basically the origin of this. Then my parents divorced, and we stayed with my mother. So for the next, I'd say 8 years, something like around 9 years, we stayed exclusively with my mother, and visited my father every other week. On the weekend. And for 9 years, we were molested by physically and mentally by my mother. It was a constant violence by her, physically, mentally, and it was very hard because we never knew when it will come and from where and for what reason. It was really psychotic, and she had absolutely no idea, no she was not aware of the violence that she was using with her children. And so it was something that was daily, and we were scared all the time. I don't remember in my childhood a moment where I was not scared. I was scared 24/7, all the time. I was with my mother. It was not possible to be in any other state, so I was constantly in fear. So that my mother married a second time, and she had a second girl, so a third child, my second sister, with this other man, and we lived for I think 6 or 7 years with my stepfather, and the violence was kept going, and all along of these years with my mother, no one ever did anything to stop her. The violence was quite, I would say, outcoming, so it was not really hidden. Everyone could see the situation, and we spoke with my father. So my father was also aware of the violence that we were receiving from my mother, and my father never moved a single finger to stop that. And so my father remarried. He remarried too with the previous woman. So with the woman that, so my stepmother, that he was already engaged before, and so in 1990. I was at that moment. I was 30 or 14-year-old. I just decided that I had enough, and that was had to stop. I said, this ends tonight. So I called my father, and I said to my father that he had to come and pick up me and my sister, because if he didn't, we were leaving the house anyway. We were going away anyway, and that if he didn't come to pick us, he will never see us ever again, because I will hold that grudge against him lifelong forever. And he had just 5 minutes, no, a little bit more, but he had no choice. You come or you are out forever. Well, a little bit, right? Dramatic in that moment. But in that moment, it was the only way I had to express it. And so obviously he came. We put what we had in garbage bags, put it in the car, and went to live with my father. And in that moment, I had the idea, well, that's great. Finally, we're going to live with my father and my stepmother. And my stepmother, up until that moment, just some months before, always qualified as someone good that was nice to us and supporting and loving and all of that. And so I really thought that moment, oh, great. Now we finally will be in a place where we will be treated decently and we will have a family. And I was very hopeful in that moment when arriving there. However, the following years revealed themselves to be exactly the same. So that, in fact, my stepmother revealed herself just to be a bitch like my mother. She never had physical violence against me, but she was doing exactly the same. So she was violent against me in words and in a psychic way, right? In a mental way. And her violence went far in taking my sister and having treating my sister well. She was everything good with my sister that you can ever imagine, and she was the opposite with me. And as this was unfolding, my father obviously didn't see anything or did anything or didn't care enough to defend me, right? So all along all these years, it has been no one ever did anything to come at our support, except once. There's just one person that defended me once and confronted my mother. But that was the 80s. And in the 80s, child abuse was not the thing. There was no law. No one was doing anything because coming out of the 60s, of the beginning of the, right, out of World War II and the 50s, the 60s, children were treated in a completely different way. So violence, let's call it that way, was much more common, much more used, and I know that my mother and her sisters were abused somehow by my grandparents. They had physical abuse, right? They were, however, my grandparents didn't reach, at least with my mother, the intensity that my mother reached with us, right? And so there is that origin, but at the same moment, right, there are people that are repeating what they have, right? The violence that they receive as children, then they give that to their children because they don't know anything else. It's simply that's what you know. And I know that my grandmother, she had the same education, so she came from that very heavy and very controlling and very physical way of educating children. So it was, right, it's something that has been arriving to my mother and her siblings, where I know that my aunts, for instance, they had a lot of problem with their children. But for instance, my aunt Rose, she was always checking herself not to be abusing her child. my cousin Agatha. She was so afraid to repeat the physical abuse that she had as a child that she was constantly checking herself. She was really afraid. And she told me she was so afraid of touching her and getting into violence that, yeah, she couldn't really relax in front of her of her child. So it's things that somehow you can say, well, it's generational, right? It's things that have been given from the parents to the children. However, you also realize that, and at that time in the 80s, there was, as I was saying, there was no notion of child abuse and or little notion of child abuse, and no one was doing anything. So it was, children were treating that way coming out. So they were just saying, well, whatever, right? Watching the other side. It's not an excuse, because at the same time, I was abused and I will have used some help, but help didn't come. Well, just one person that, and that gave me the value of confronting my mother and telling her that she was a liar and that she was abusing me. And so I see that I cannot really relate to my mother, my father, my steps in a way of saying they give me an idea of a loving family. I didn't have that. And my sister the same, right? And then there were other things, and that a lot of things that happened in there. At the same moment, I was victim of bully at school, and the only reason why I didn't perceive that as heavily as it was is because at home it was worse, far worse. Going to school, even if I hated it, it was a vocation. It was like being, oh, yeah, they're abusing me, but at least it's not that terrible as at home, because I knew that going home it will be way far worse. And all along, I learned very in the beginning, as I was in the first year of school, that I had to do it on my own. I couldn't go to my mother for any help, assistance, or anything, because she will kill me. And I'm not joking. She will have killed me. The first time I came home with something to do from school and I asked for her help, it was a reading thing. I was learning to read, and so I was trying to go through, and it was just right. It was syllables, right? Ra, bi, bo, etc. And I was trying to read that, and I was doing mistakes, and every mistake I was punished, physically punished for every single mistakes, and every mistake was getting worse. So that I learned that night that, well, I had to do it on my own and not ask help of any kind to anyone, because I knew the consequences will be that I will be punished for doing so, and doing what, right? In as humans, as children, when you learn something, you can make mistake before you get it right. You need to, and I'm not allowed that. I can't. And if I keep going like this, she'll kill me, because she just will go too far at some moment. So and that put me in very difficult positions some years later. And so when I was required to give her stuff or to ask for stuff, and it was there, no, I will not do it. And I had my teachers just getting crazy, say, you have to go to your mother. I was, no, I will not go to my mother. I will not ask her assistance or whatever, and you will not change. And I did not do that. I said, no, I will not. I am too scared to go and ask her for anything. And so it was difficult to have that approach, right? Of teachers that say, well, your parents have to be involved. And I was there saying, oh no, no way. For the life of me, no. and and so it was like that. And I didn't really have, I the only thing that I had where I could feel some way better, it was when I was in my volleyball team, where there was no abuse there. So and the woman that was handling the team, and so my neighbor, she was very supporting, and she's the only one that stood up for me in all these years, in all of those years. So and of all the people that I knew, and that she's the only one I still have contact with. The other people, I don't even care. I don't even want to. Right, as a human, obviously. Here I'm talking as human. I have quite no contacts with anyone. Her family is the only family I have contacts with, and that I keep. No one else is there because, well, even though today I'm past that, the human says, yeah, but why should I don't like them. And yeah, as creator beings, yes, obviously. As humans, go fuck yourself, right? And so I came out of there at 19s, and at 19s, well, I had my forced coming out. So I really didn't have the opportunity to have a coming out by myself. It was forced because, well, allegedly, even though I don't believe that that was the way it happened, but allegedly someone called anonymously my father to tell that I'm gay. And so there was that. Which didn't help, especially with my stepmother, because she still doesn't forgive me that, right? Uh, she she um, she still has problem with that, and even my father, not as much, but a little bit. And and so I was not home in that weekend when it happened. I came home on the Monday evening, and I had just my sister giving me, as we were in the same school, giving me a hint saying, well, this happened, prepare yourself when you go home because they will certainly confront you about that. And so I went home, and I remember being called in the kitchen, and they asked me the question. And so they gave me the address of a family Christian institution. And they said, you need help, you have to go there and to have support because you can't go on like this. And so I just answered to them, well, that's not going to happen. I'm this way. And if there is anyone here that needs to go to any such places, it's you. You are the one with the problem. I'm not the one with the problem. And so, end of story. And it was, but from there on, my stepmother had a problem, right, with me. An additional problem, even like if she didn't have already enough problems with me, she had that additional one. And with the years, I came to understand that she was uh, putting in me all the frustration, all the problem, all the stuff that she had. I became the one uh, embodying her problems and all the stuff she had with herself. And also, I became the surrogate for my mother. The hate that she had for my mother was transferred to me, even though I'm a different person. She had all that stuff, and she went as so far as years when I was some years later. She came to me and she said, "You know, I treated you the way I treated you because your sister was telling me stuff about you that make me angry against you. So it's your sister's fault if I was doing that to you." And I wish I could say that I didn't take that seriously, but I did. And yeah, and I was angry against my sister for years. Didn't have relationship with her, didn't speak with her, didn't want her really around me. Yeah, and that's my stepmother. And she's the one angry against me. And so at 19, I realized that with the it was a realization without really realizing, right? It was just I took the decision to move out, to move away, to leave that environment, to leave that family, to leave them away, and to go far away. So I left home and I went in the French speaking part of Switzerland, which honestly, Switzerland is very, very right for the American point of view, right? When you are American and you see Switzerland, Switzerland is smaller than Delaware, I yeah, or Vermont, right? I don't think it's smaller or something like that. It's seen from the United States, from Canada, the United States, it's really tiny. So when I say I go from the Italian speaking Switzerland to the French speaking, it's a couple of hours. It's 3 hours by train. So I mean, right? It's not that big deal. But in Europe, it is. In Europe, we do not move the same way. So 3 hours by train is far enough. And so starting from there, I hardly go back. Right, I used to go maybe once or twice a year, and that's all. But that has left me with a lot of stuff that I was holding, right? That I was not fully aware of, but I knew that I have traumatism, that I had problems, and that I needed to go through a lot of stuff, and so I was quite right aware and working or doing stuff, but not really as I've been doing in the last 3 years. But I could absolutely perceive that I had unresolved stuff, and it's only when I realized that fully only this last 3 years, right? In going very deep into it, and going in deep in the understanding of it. And I said in the beginning, I'm not talking about a victim. I'm not a victim. This, what I'm telling you, is the story that I have with me in my mind, in my persona. That's where I come from, right? In this moment, that's what I relate to as a history. So that I also now know that all of that comes from me. So it's not them, it's me, it's my history, it's my perception of all of that. So that's why I know, and I say I'm not a victim, and I do not perceive them as the bad guy. I'm giving the human history that I can give about myself. And I know that, well, that happened, right? That's real. But I have also evolved in my perception of those years, and so that I cannot perceive, um, I am past the victimization. But not feeling a victim doesn't mean that that didn't happen. It happened. And it is important to accept it. And that is when you stop being a victim and you become a human with a history. It's when you accept that that is your life, that that is your history, that that is your memory, right? You accept that. And um, and so that you can move on and you can evolve yourself. And for me, it has taken a very long, I mean, in years, in human talking, it has taken long, because I had to go through my relationship with these beings, what has happened, the way I was treated, and then my evolution with that, my relationship with that, to bring that back to myself and to the way I was seeing myself. But that, right, that is stuff that it takes time. But that is my evolution. And what I can say about that is that as that was unfolding, it was like having two perspective. I had the perspective of Max, the child, the adolescent, that was going through that and was feeling a victim, and it was feeling that everyone was against him and that no one was loving him. And then I was a perspective where I was watching all of that was happening and I was registering it, not in a memory where I'm able to give you everything that has happened. That's not what I'm saying. I was registering my reactions, what was happening, the feeling, how the dynamic, how people were, what they were saying, the voice, their mannerism, how they are. This person behaves in this way, and I know, and they speak in this way, and they do this in this way. So I know that this is a type. People that are in a certain way, they do like this. People that are like that, right? I was registering all of that. So I'm able, when I'm facing someone, I am able to know if that person is someone that can go along with me or not, if they are straightforward, if they are honest or not, if they are lying. I can I recognize voices. You talk with me, I know what kind of person you are. I know if you are hiding something, if you are straightforward. Your voice will tell me all about you, consciously and unconsciously. You will not fuck with me on that. I know you better than you can ever know yourself, right? I learned that because I had to learn that for surviving. But at the time it was for surviving. Then now that has evolved in something different, in something else. Now I'm using that because with that I know how to help, how to give something to other people, how to handle, right? When I'm working with someone, they are they have a personality, they have something, they are presenting themselves in a certain way, and I need to be able to know them when they are facing me, so that I know how to talk, how to touch certain points where they need support, that they need to have awareness there. right? But and that becomes helpful in the way I'm able to perceive a person. And so what at that time was a survival kit, survival tool, now it has become a tool of work, a tool of that I can use in a completely different way. So there is an evolution in that is very interesting to me, because I realize, and I'm still doing that when I am in a situation. I'm working with Roxy. I'm working with Nora. I'm working with the roundtable. I'm working with other people, right? I'm also watching and I am registering. And I said that, as I said, that is not a memory thing. I'm not putting that in the memory. I'm acquiring it as a tool, where I see my reaction, I see myself, and I watch myself, and I learn myself, I understand myself, and then I put that in action so that I can use that as a tool. I become object and subject. I'm the object of it, and I'm the subject, my subject, as much as anything else, because that is what it is, right? You have to live it to understand it, right? And that is one way to be able then to use that with other people when you are working with them, because you know it. And so I have used all of that has been happening in those years, so that has become knowledge. I know those things. I know a child, what a abused child is going through. I know what a victim is going through, because I have been a victim before becoming the creator. I was a victim, and I know what a child is going through. A child is going through self-hate. A abused child will hate itself. There is no way that someone that has gone through abuse as a child, they become a adult and they love themselves. It's not going to happen, because the people that as a child you are seeing the most as those that have to protect you, to give you love and all of that, they have abused you physical, mentally, and the mental thing is the worst. The physical, you can go through that much more easier. The mental, you don't get through that. You live with it. And so a abused child, his aim, what they want to do, is to kill themselves, to destroy themselves. That's their main core thing. My sister, she has done everything she could to destroy herself, to kill herself, except actually killing herself. But she attempted suicide many times, and drug abuse, mutilation, all the stuff. She's done that. She told me, and she still doesn't know why she has done it, but she has, right? And for myself, I also tried to destroy myself. I didn't do it like my sister in a more straightforward way. I did in I use much more distorted revenues, but I did the same as she did. But right, I didn't go so far as she did, but that, right, everyone is different. So, but I certainly did try to destroy myself. Oh yeah, I did. As every self-hating, abused child that became adult will do. If you don't, well, you must really be an abnormal, because that's right? The human experience, the human way of expressing it, right? It's like if you are a white American, and you are not racist, well, you are not normal, you're not doing it right, right, in that idea. And then, yes, I know, but that's the idea of human, right? The human experience. And so uh I I was then able um, to start really building my life at 20. So I started really living at 20 when um, I was going to say lucky, but it's not luck, right? When my husband came into my life and we started living together, that's when my new life began. What I can consider uh, the after abuse and the desperation. At 19, when I left home, I was not ready for it, even though that saved my, let's say, right. This, remember, these are images, these are identities, this is memory, right? That's where we are there. So all I'm saying here, it's in the past and it's not now. It's anyway. So at 18, I was not ready, and I found myself living with desperation and taking decisions that were just out of desperation. Uh, and that's not a good place to be, right? To really build something and whatever. So it took me some time to be able to be in this situation and to be with him, and starting building our life together. So my life, uh, and 25 years later, we're still together, and so right when but it was something that I had to build, because I certainly didn't feel right, worth his attention, worth his love. It took me a very long time to feel that and to allow myself into that, and even to allow myself to realize that he was really loving me. I couldn't conceive that because I didn't experience love for 20 years. I experienced rejection, violence, all sort of violence. The only thing that I can say I didn't experience is sexual abuse. I didn't have that. Um, but any other sort, yes. Um, and um, and so coming there, I was just surprised, and I couldn't just conceive that anyone could love me. I was not loving myself. How could anyone else love me? So it actually honestly took me 20 years to get there. Yeah, 20 years to really believe that he's loving me. But it was only me not loving myself. It was not him, right? It was not him. It was me. I couldn't see that. And it took me even a little bit longer to realize my relationship with my parents. After I left in 1990, I think until 2016, for 25 years, I think I must have seen my mother 3 or 4 times, and not that much, as little as possible. I hated her. I despised her. I couldn't stand her. Uh, and and it took to me really a very long time to to work through that she did, right? And it took me even longer to really, right, to realize that that relationship was not a relationship of victimization, right? That was a she was playing the role that we decided that she will have with me, right? That is the thing. But still, for the human, that is nice, right? But she still violated my person, right? From the human perspective, the child perspective, that is it, right? So, and that is real, right? The thing of realizing that you're not a victim and that happened, but that you can have a perspective of creator, that helps. That definitely is the right thing. But that doesn't have to take away the reality of what happened, because it's real, because it happened in your human history, in your human perspective and experience. And if you do not accept that as being also that, you are not fully accepting it. It's part of the acceptance. It's part of the work of awakening and of understanding of yourself, that is real, and but that is not all. You cannot just see that as real and as the violence that you have had. You have also to see that as acceptance, as part of your history, yes, but as acceptance, because the two have to go together. You cannot not have them going together. It has to be like that, because if you lack one of them, you are giving more weight to the physicality of it, to the externalization of it, to the lack of it, and you are not giving enough importance to your internalization of it, to the internal God that you are, to the God that you are, to the God that participated into it, but not as a victim. So that gave me a perspective of evolution and of giving myself with high and low and questioning and not understanding and trying to understanding and then getting back to try to be accepted and being refused every time. Well, my mother, I was refusing her, right? But I was refusing myself. And my father and my stepmother, I was trying to be accepted by them, but they were still refusing me because they were not accepting, but I was still refusing myself, right? I was the one that was not accepting me. I was not there yet. I was not loving myself. And so the refusal that they had against me, it was my refusal. I was not good with myself. Definitely, right? So I needed to go through that, and the magic for me, and this, right? I'm talking about my qualifications here, right? But well, here is the magic that comes from our evolution, and the thing that I decided to give myself that chance of evolution, of evolving, of moving on from that state of victim, and said, well, there's something else. I feel that there is something else, because all through my existence and all through my experiences, I felt that something was there. I was, as I said before, as the violence was done to me, I was analyzing that from up there, right? I was seeing it, I was perceiving, right? I was having that perspective of learning from what was happening at the same moment as the human was victimized. So that's what was happening. And so I realized that through all of that, I felt that I had a way of turning things around. One thing that I was noticing is that I and this is a belief system, totally right. Remember, it's a belief system, it's not a truth that I'm saying right now, but my perception was that those that were harming me, they were punished, or they were punishing themselves. So something will happen where for me they were suffering for the harm that they were doing to me, which is absolutely not what was happening, but that was the way I was seeing it. And it was kind of a way of self-protection, or of giving me some kind of idea of karma hitting them, right? Which was absolutely bullshit, but that's what I was perceiving. And on top of that, I was perceiving that there was kind of a way that whatever was happening in my life, everything was turning around, and I was always coming out of it, on top of it. I could go very down and very beaten, and I mean they beat me a lot. So yeah, I was beaten, not just physically, also mentally. But I also realized that I was always finding in me a way of coming out of it and to face it, even though I was not able to really understand it. And also, as I with the history with my mother, and the fact that I learned early on that I couldn't face the thing straight, but that I had to find my way. And it was what we will say, I kind of going in the dark, right? Going into the shadow in order to go around it, in order to come out in the other side. But even by taking that way, I always realized that I was able to come on top of that I was never beaten down, definitely, and something will always come up. So I acquired a sort of conviction, whereas things will always turn well for me. And at that time, it was a sort of a belief system, but a core belief that I had. And if I was not able, even though I was not able to stay in that conviction all the time, it was still helping in the worst moment that I was having. So, and there have been many instances where things have happened exactly at the right moment to avoid the worst, right? To take me out of those situations, and literally, absolutely, right? Whether it was with money, whether it was with family, whether it was, so I knew that, so that I had the notion things are different for what they really look like, and there is something behind this. And I decided to go into it. I knew of magic. I knew that something was there. And so when I started to work with Roxy, that helped me going into realizing so much. And that is one of the reasons why, right? It when I'm saying, am I qualified? It's that thing where I was put facing the question, do you have a paper or papers that give you that quality that we are looking into someone that does this work or any other work, because our society nowadays requires papers. And so when someone asks me that question, I say, no, I have no papers and I don't care about papers. So my reaction in that moment was reactionary in that image that or our identity that so many have, that where they say you have to have been to a school that have delivered you a paper. And I say, no, fucking no, you don't need that. And I know that for a fact, because I am determining myself, and I do not need a school to teach me because everything that you receive from a school is something that has been told, not something that those people, those teachers know. So I know that that is not knowing. The paper that delivers that quality, that qualification, is a paper that doesn't qualify your knowing of things. It's just say, oh, I went to a school and they say that I have a that I'm qualified, and that is not to take away that, right? That is real, right? It's a way that people do that. But for me, in my perspective, that is no qualification. End of story. The qualification that you have in my eye is when you are doing it. It's when you are having people coming to you and that you are helping them and guiding them, or sharing your light, right? That's what you do. And to share your light, you do not need a paper. Now, however, there is the other side in that, and that is the side of me not knowing, am I qualified? Which is part of that. And if I was not honest, I would just put that in my refusal of just giving myself a identity through a paper, right? I will just put that there, but that's not all in it. There is also me not being sure, not seeing my worth, and lacking that in that moment. And so and that, right, it's me building up, discovering myself in this moment and realizing my worth and seeing my worth and building my worth. And as I was saying, when I started working with Roxy, I certainly had no value, no sense of self, no understanding of self, no direction, or no ability to see myself. I was not seeing myself. And I'm saying this from this point of view, but that's a self that I know. And I'm not saying that that self was not valuable, or that self was not aware. But that self was having its own experience in that moment at the best way that that self could have. So that self is absolutely valuable. And that's the self that decided to contact Roxy. So that self made the best decision that that self could do in that moment, and that and that literally changed everything, right? So when I'm saying this and looking back, and it's not looking back because we know that it's not in the past, it's in a other moment that it's happening right now, but that's another story. We're not going into technicality here. We're staying focused on this, right? But that is the thing, right? It's that we make choices, and we make the best choices we can make for ourselves in that moment. And so when I'm saying all of that about that self, I cannot let out or forget the fact that that self made the best decision, and I will say the best decision of love in that moment, and that was to take contact with someone like Roxanne, and starting working on myself, right? And that was me deciding that, right? So I have to see the value, right? The building up of value, and I have to see that that was already there, expressing itself. That action was my value, and that action of value brought me into more value, or discovering of what was already there, because it was already there. The love that I have for myself was already there. It's not something that I'm building or buying, or right? It's something that is already there, and it's the awakening of that. And when we say right, we talk all the time about awakening and ascension, but that is what ascension is. That is what awakening is looking inside of you and discovering yourself. That's the very meaning, the real meaning of all of that. So that action in that moment was a action of love, self-love, and a action of self-discovery, of self-awakening, and all of that. And then through that, and working through all of these things, and then starting to also listening to many other stuff, talking with people like Nora, and going right, and keep going with Roxy, working on my ego, or right, building up my the creator, right, building up that side, and taking in all the awareness, and then suddenly being able in understanding my history with my family. Gosh, and all along, not just doing that to me, right, changing myself, also learning, knowing it, right? That's the knowing that I'm talking about, that you cannot have on a paper. A paper can give you identity, can give you all that you wanted. It's absolutely valuable and valid, and by all means, if you give value to that, keep it, do it. I have no judgment on that. I'm speaking from my perspective and what I see. Because, even if I'm talking like this, obviously, right, there is that thing, right? I don't have the paper, right? That is the reality. But then that is even not true. Because you see, and that's what I've come to realize, is that I was just focused on the paper point of view. But the value of the paper, or the value of, it's not just in the paper, right? There is not just, it's the knowing, it's the doing, it's the fact of having encountered and worked with so many people, and have coming to the knowing from those people. So shared the knowing, understood those things, and applying those things to the self. And that's why I'm so happy of doing it. And I'm sad, and I'm realizing now the value of that, and the qualification that gives, right, in that idea, because that is what it is. And everyone has their own way to do it. There are ways that give paper, there are ways that give something else that is as much valuable, and then it doesn't matter. It's simply that it's there. Your qualification is there. That's what you have, and that's you enlightening that yourself. That is what that is, right? And so I had instances then where I was able to receive feedback, to receive awakenings, ascension, and right, being accompanied by these people, by Roxy, by Nora, but also by Isabel, by Nikki, by everyone in the Kimberly, in the round table, right? Because it's, you create exchanges. Doesn't matter how long you're doing that and how long you have been interacting with people. It's that you learn from everyone. If you just are able to look and allow that, and to have that thing that you are able to absorb it. So I have now been able to see and realize what that question really means. And when I say I'm qualified, but someone that present themselves in a certain way, asking certain things, I'm also, well, then maybe it's not with me that you have to work. If you need more scholarship, right? That kind of stuff. But then I also realized, isn't that me just refusing that side because I think that I don't have it? Because at the same moment, someone can come to you and ask for your qualification and needing papers, but they may still end up working with you. So again, I realized, oh, that's still me refusing myself. It's not about the paper. It's not about the qualification. It's about the way I perceive myself. Am I sure that I am able to do it? Right? Those things that, those doubts, those things that are there. Because, well, right, we're human playing the human experience. So the process and all of that, oh gosh, right? Yes. But this is my evolution, right? I have come right now in this changing. I'm changing myself. I'm changing all the perspective on myself. And I'm now leaving the corporate world. And I didn't know that that was so heavily charged. I didn't when I've been working on that for 2 years and more, and still was scared a lot of doing that. But and it happened the way it happened. But it's even not important. The thing is that living corporate world is something where you are not just, it's even not that, right? It's some, but it's simply all the belief systems or the stuff that I've been learning all my life about security, about work, about production, about being valuable in society, having a place in society, about the perception of my family, and it's not just my family. I think that is present everywhere, and that is that when you have a job, you keep the job and you do whatever they ask you to do to keep that job. Because if you leave the job, you cannot know if you will ever have another job, right? That fact lack of people that are abundant and do not see it, and they keep not seeing it, and then they have these beliefs and they keep talking that way, and you take it inside of you, and that thing of saying, oh my god, oh, panic, because oh goodness, you have, right? And well, all of that and more. And by leaving that, you have to confront yourself with all of that and the identity that gives you, because that gives you an identity, right? It's all about identity, existence, being something in this fucking world. Well, you have to have a job. You have to identify yourself with your job, and you have to be it. And if you don't have a life outside, that doesn't matter, because you have the money, right? And when I went back 5 years ago into a corporate job, my reaction, my first thought was, well, at least now, at the end of the month, I'm sure that I will have a salary. Yes, absolutely, but that it's not security. But I was perceiving it as security. So now it's that security is gone. What do I do from here, right? And I know that it's my abundance, right? I am abundant as a creator being. I am abundant, and I don't have to be scared on that account. However, this is a human reality, and so there is the human coming in saying, yeah, but you don't have a revenue. What are you going to do? Until I realized that thought was keeping me in corporate world. I was still seeing myself as in need of a job. And I said, well, I don't need a job to have abundance. I already have abundance. But these are things that, right? It's deconstructing the human and rebuild the human. And I was saying the other time, it's like I'm suffering, but it's not physical sufferance, right? I'm not really suffering in that idea, but it's suffering because it requires really a lot of stuff, attention, and will, and getting into it from the human. The creator that I am doesn't need that because it's already built in. It's what I already am, right? I am all of that. I don't need to create it. I am that, but not the human. And I am having a human experience. So that is the part that has to be, right, brought along, and to need to realize that and come aboard and destroy all of those belief systems that are keeping the belief that, oh, a job is necessary. If you don't have a job, you don't have money, so you don't eat and you die. Basically. So, right? And all of this is happening, right? It's going on. So I'm discovering all these signs and all of that, and it's everything is going on simultaneously, as always, right? It's not that there is something of we are like that, and so I realize all of this, and I have to say that Roxy was paramount. It was really a lot of discovering through her. And remember that that is my reflection, right? I use her to get to discover myself, right? That is how it is. You work with someone, and that someone is giving you what you need in that moment, and coming, right, seeing all these 3 years or whatever work that I have done with all the people I have worked with, in whatever way, is that it was always what was needed in the moment. Always perfect, always the right thing. And that comes because I'm putting it there, right? And we are co-creating that. It's always a co-creation. But from my perspective, I am doing it, right? And it's for me. And these are things that are very difficult, right, to understand, because we are taught to externalize reality. Everything is outside of you, so you are not doing it. You are just the subject of it. So whatever happens, you are just powerless. And so I was able to realize my relationship with my family, and the way that, and the thing that I was waiting for their validation. And the moment I stopped seeking that validation, oh wow, my life changed again. I don't speak with my stepmother anymore because I don't feel the need, and because I'm not trying to be accepted by her. Will she or not? I don't care, because I don't need that. And I'm now managing it. Whatever happens, happens. And that is also, I think, that I learned, is that I was, and still sometimes am, trying to manage things and to have things to happen in a certain way. And obviously they never happen the way I try to manage them. So that I really need, and that is another thing that I'm working on right now, is that I am not managing, and I am accepting. As accepting things exactly as they are and as they come along. And I can promise, and they always happen. And when I'm thinking about something, I may not know, oh, how is it going to happen? How can I? And then I realize, well, I don't have to think about it. I just have to allow it to happen. And I realized in all these years that that is exactly what it is. Things happen in my life now because they happen, not because I make them happen. I've been on spaceships. I've been in the angel realm. I've been on seeing my uh, hybrid children. I've traveled a lot, but those travels didn't happen because I wanted them to happen or because I made them happen. They just happened. And also, as I am seeing that those through the human, I even don't know when they happened because, well, they happen in the moment, right? But the moment I have the experience as human of those things, I don't know, and I don't fucking care. It just happened. And all of those things that are happening anyway to all of us, but that now I know, I have the awareness, I'm experiencing now. I'm able to have those experiences because I allowed myself through all of my work to have those experiences. When I had the knowledge and the understanding that I have hybrid children, and I swear, as a human, I didn't want to have children. I was scared of having children. I said, I don't want to have children. Well, we are homosexual, so, well, that is a little bit more challenging, but it's still possible. But I always doubted myself. I said, with my childhood, the example of bloody fucking shit of hating parents that I have, I don't know if I will be able to have a child and not to repeat the fucked up stuff that they did to me. I don't know if I am able to control myself. I don't want to have children. I'm scared. I was scared to death. And so when I was presented with the eventuality or with the possibility, but also understanding all that process is the hybrid program, well, all right, there is a lot of stuff in that, but coming out very quickly on top of that, I just said, fuck it, I don't care the process. What I care is the result, and the result are the children. And I mean, the children are having, right, the hybrid children are having their own reality and their own stuff. So the guilt of not being parenting, it was, I had it, but it was quite very quickly gone because I was aware, well, it's the way it is, and I cannot parenting that because it's out of my human experience. So that I was able very quickly to accept it fully and completely and accept all the process and not having any problem with that, because I said that is whatever it is. And I mean, do you really think that with my past as a human child of abuse and all of that, do you really think that I'm going to really take any offense with the with whatever violence or experience there can be with the hybrid program? Oh fuck no! I know what that is. What violence is. I know all of that, and I mean a little more or less in that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna be focusing on that because that has been my childhood, and even if I know that some of the violence that I had with my parents and that I'm assimilating or perceiving as human, that can also be coming from the hybrid program, because when I was going through that, it was the gray were still not back into their emotional body, so it was a experience of fear, of mistreatment, and all of that, which was my perspective, but not theirs, right? But it doesn't matter. Still, that was what I was going through. But I said, well, it's at the end of the day, that also is an experience. And so I said, okay, I have a choice here. Well, if I'm able to go and talk with my mother now, and to let go of everything that was in the past, or everything that I was perceiving, and say, well, that's, we go through it. It's the end. I'm not going to stay in that. I said, well, I can do it with everything. I am able to take all of that shit and to accept it. And when I did that, I discover such love as I didn't know exist, coming from beings that I don't humanly know. I exchange with them in a way that I didn't know that it was possible, right? So I discovered a new world, and allowed it to be. So these experiences, these are all things that are there available to me, and now available, right, that I can use. And it's knowledge, is things that I know. And that's where I put the difference between and when I say this, let me just be more, I'm not right, and I'm not speaking about a precise paper or whatever, but when I say this, is that for me it's the knowing that make a teacher, a guide, a healer, a support, or whatever you want to call it. It's just an important, whatever it's for you, right? But that's what makes the huge big difference between someone that is told stuff, and someone that knows, because it's the knowing that you have inside of you. That is where I make the difference, and that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the knowing. And remember, there are many people that have papers and that have the knowing too, right? So one doesn't exclude the other, right? It's always a question of personal perspective. That is absolutely important. But this is my perspective, so I'm talking about myself. And so all of this is happening, and I thought, yeah, let's go into it. And as I said, whatever my parents have done and other people have done, or not done, the perspective now has changed on all of that. Also because it's in my memory, right now, and my memory is full of things that I remember and things that I do not remember, things that I think that I have experienced, and things that I think that and other things that I haven't experienced because I don't remember, or it's not in my awareness. But I am all of that, right? So I have experienced all that I remember and all that I don't remember, all that I am aware of and all that I am not aware of. It's still my stuff. Because the other versions of me, it's still me. So I am experiencing all of that and all of those choices. So that this is only memory. It's true, it's real, but there is more of me and more of them. And the experiences that we are having together, me and my parents, are not just what I described. And this, even though this doesn't change my experience, but this experience, my experience, doesn't have to cloud the fact that we are having multiple experiences. If my memory is telling me that they are horrible humans, I also have wonderful experiences with them that I'm not aware of because it's not in my memory, right? But does that mean that I'm not having those experiences? No, I'm having those experiences. I'm just not aware of those experiences. But it's still me. But I cannot live my life based on that. However, from another perspective, when I'm relating with myself with those people, I have to take that under consideration because I'm not unaware of those things that I don't know are happening. I know they are happening. And and so my relationship with anyone has to be a relationship based on my now and not what is not in my now, right? That's absolutely true. But and from there I have a relationship with the human that I know, right? But also when I look into those things from a perspective of understanding and acceptance and loving and of creator that I am, I also have I'm also aware of that. So uh, it's part of the game. It's part of me, and so I can have the human perspective, the human experience, and I can have a creator experience. I'm not going to say higher experience. It's not higher. So that's why I'm trying to not go into that, because then it gives an idea of its vibration. So it cannot be higher or lower, right? It's simply different. That's why I'm always say creator perspective, because that's more that's give for me the perspective of, right, the creator, and then the perspective of the human. It's the same because we are not separated. However, the human is the human experience that belongs to the creator, but that's the creator creating it, right? So and we are making the difference, right? We are trying to put stuff in that, or seeing things into right. Okay, that's okay. It's all right. Um, but what I say now is that when you awaken, when you ascend, when you do a spiritual work or whatever you want to call it, you become aware of certain things. So in your evolution, you have to take those things under consideration. So when I'm looking to my parents, I have not only to see the fucked up situation, the fucked up people, I also have to see the God, the creators, the co-creators. I have to see what they have played in my life and to see it as a co-creation that I wanted, because if it's in my reality, is that I put it there. I choose it, right? And it's not a question of saying I am responsible. It's not responsible. Fuck that, right? Fuck. It's still in the idea of victimization, perpetrator. That's nothing of that. It's simply the awareness. What I am, therefore, I see things in this way. And that's for me. And I'm not expecting anyone to do things as I do. That's what I choose for myself, right? And it becomes and it remains my own perspective. And I think that that is always important. But right, as I was saying, this is what I call my qualification. And I think that all that I've done, right, all that I've done, all of my life is my qualification. And all that I have worked with are the people I have worked with. They are also my qualification. But I am qualifying it, right? In the base, in the end, I am my qualification. And so, but for me, it's now the discovery of all this. I'm discovering it, and as I said, this is part of my changing perspective, changing my old belief system from that corporate world into living that. And now discovering my value, my worthiness, my abundance as they are, as they exist, not as a belief system, but as something built in through the I am. I am that. And it's a completely different perspective. All right. I think that yeah, that's all from me. Do you have something to say? Okay. So just a second. All right. All right, here, Yoo-Li here. Yes, so this is a very interesting exercise of introspection and of understanding of and seeing your worth and relating to yourself and giving yourself a perspective of self-worth through all that you have done, and also giving another weight, another perspective to what you consider what is your past, your human past, and the realization of that has to bring you into building a new you. The situation you're being, what you are going through right now, it's absolutely what you choose to have, what you need to have. You were just coming out of the corporate world and wanting to, from day one, just jump into something else. You didn't know what something else is. You didn't have any perspective. You didn't allow yourself to feel. You didn't allow yourself to be human. You wanted to be superhero, Max, doing all right and being there, oh, instantly on top of everything, the hero of change. And obviously it didn't go like that. So you needed really to come out of that and just to put yourself in a different perspective and to go inside of yourself. You were trying to stay out. You were not in, you were out. You were not seeing yourself, you were out. You were not allowing yourself, you were out. And you are human. And corporate world, it's human right now. It's the human idea of worth. So you live that. You are leaving behind a worth. And whether that is your worth or not, it doesn't matter. That was what you were using in that moment for yourself in order to go somewhere, to do something, to have abundance. And so you live that. And so you have to change completely your perspective on those things. And you were just there saying, oh, it's there, it's done. Oh, it was not. So the process is happening. And you just needed to see it. You just needed to be into it. You will not have been able to avoid the process. You were trying, you did try, and you did do everything you could to try to avoid it. Absolutely, you did that. but that is still human. Human tries to avoid looking inside. There is so much outside in the illusion that it's so much more fun that you go there until you realize it, and then you let go of it. Because there is nothing outside. So you were absolutely going in nothingness, in something that is not there. So you came back in. So you allowed all that is happening, and you are learning from it, right? You are having that perspective, and you you didn't talk about your channeling and your friends, but that was not really the point up until now. But you have now the awareness of a internal world, of a internal voice that is there all the time. And up until recently, you were not really listening, and you realized that. And that was one of the exercises that you have to have. Listen. You were doing things and then realizing that you were not listening. You had that experience with Rox, and she kicked your ass, rightfully, because you were not listening. You had a plan, we gave you all that you needed, and you didn't follow the plan. So you discover these things, you are giving yourself the experiences, and you learn from this. You are able, and that is something that we told you, you are able to use everything that is thrown to you, that you are throwing to yourself, and learn it and to know it. And now you are also listening. Human do not listen, and you have seen it. They want to be listened to, but they don't want to listen. And that is, as you know, very, very, very quite normal to have this kind of reaction when you live in a corporate world society of production, of doing stuff in that way. Because it's inhuman. And it's not from the heart, and no one is listened. Everyone is there to produce, to be that production, right? Function in that way, and so there is no listening. So everyone wants just what? To talk. Blah 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 blah, and they talk for nothing because they are so not able to express themselves that they use every opportunity to say whatever they can to say, and they don't want to listen. They want to express themselves. But you are here, and one of the things that you are good at is listening. But your human side is still sometimes taking the thing, your ego, and then you think, I don't need to listen. Oh, you need to listen, because it's to yourself that you are listening, and you are not doing it all the time. Listen. And the thing is that all the signs are there, all the information is there, it is given to you. You already know it, but then you don't listen to it. Many times in your life, and even back in your teens, back when you were 19, you have been told, don't do it. You have even had voices in your head telling you, don't do it. And still you did it. You know why you did it? Or you have an excuse for that? right? But you didn't need to do it. That's the point. You were told don't do it because you had other options. And if you didn't do those actions that you were told not to do, what will have happened? Nothing. So you know that listening, really listening, is important. It's what you have to do. It's what you avoid to do many times. Now you are learning, and now you are doing it. But the thing that's not just to listen is to believe that it's happening. So you see, things are happening for you. You are doing it. Because even though you fuck up, it's not fucking it up, right? You're not doing it wrong. It's the perspective that you can have that say, I'm fucking it up, right? But yeah, as human, you are fucking it up. Even if you fucked it up, it's part of the thing that you are doing in order for you to see things, to understand things. And you know that because instantly when you fucked it up, you knew what you were doing and why that happened. So you learn instantly. You are able to take the lesson straight away and to analyze it and to understand it. So you do it. But you are still not seeing it. You are still not giving yourself credit for all that you are doing, all that you are already, all that is happening to you. You are not giving yourself the credit for it. That's why sometimes you forget stuff that you are doing, that it's there, that it's told to you, that you know, right? You are avoiding it. And you know it. Because it's still happening. And you have this side of you that is saying, this is happening, but I don't believe it. That was there. And you knew it was there. It was that side of you that was looking to everything that was happening and that was still saying, is this real? Is Roxy real? Right? You were telling yourself this. You were doubting all of that. You were doubting yourself. You were not believing that you are true, that you are real. It's not about them, it's about you. And you know this, right? But you also know what now? You also know that your experience, what you see in yourself, is what you are able to see in others. That's what you are able to perceive. That's what you are able to work with in other people. Because that's what you want, and you know, and you feel, and you absolutely have been right all along in perceiving that what you're feeling inside, that love, that thing that you're feeling, that it's always there, that is growing, that's becoming so strong, that is becoming so imperative inside of you. You know that has been always there, and you know that that is the right direction. You didn't want to see it for a very long time. That's why you choose accountant. Of all things, you choose accountant. It was easy. You choose the easy way. Why? Because you didn't want to look anywhere else. Because you thought, I have no choice. That's the way. That's easy. I know how to do it. Right? You were telling yourself a story, but you had other options. You choose something that doesn't give you any pleasure and doesn't awaken anything in you. You knew it. We were not able to keep a job for more than 2 years. You were bored after a couple of months. You couldn't stay awakened. Right? And you know all of this. Because if you had any passion in what you were doing, but you didn't. And all of this was there. You knew. You have been guided. You have been given things. And you ignore, but that's a choice, right? You make your choice. It's not about better or worse. It's simply about you seeing things and allowing yourself to accept them. Because you choose accountant. It was easy, and you are saying it was easy. It's your perspective of the easy choice. This is the perspective that you have now, not the perspective that you had then. Yes, you knew, but also you were not aware of that. It's now that you are saying this. Must see it. Right? Human tries to avoid, to take other excuses. You have decided not to give yourself that. You have decided truth. Be truthful. You have choices, you had choices, and you made those choices. You received guidance, you were told, don't do it, and you did it. That's a choice. And it was an advice. But from that choice that you were told, don't do it, and then you did it, well, there are other choices, there are other moments that I have followed. It didn't stop anything. It was just to tell you, you do not need to do that. You can take another choice. It's there for you. You can. You didn't. Well, move on. Right? Accept it. It was not wrong. You're seeing it as wrong. Humans see their choices as wrong because suddenly they perceive that they had better choices. Well, it was not better. You choose it. Then it's what you wanted. If a choice was not what you want, it wouldn't be available for you. It's this idea that everything has to be perfect, that your choices have to be that wonderful thing. Well, choices are not wonderful. They are just that, choices. You make them and you stick with them and you go with them, you create with them. They are only that, choices. And you know that you only choose what is there for you. And if it's there and if it's available, it's because that is your passion, your choice, your what you choose for yourself. No one imposes it to you. So if you create it, if you have it, if it's in your reality, you put it there, so you choose it. It's a choice. All the stuff is available, yeah, and all the stuff is happening, yeah, right, okay, but it's not in your moment. That is your moment. That's your choice. And you accept it. So you see all of this, part of your work, part of your understanding, part of what you are doing for yourself, and you go into it and you just take it. Let go of the judgment. The other choice was better? No, that's your judgment. Was not better. It was another choice. That's what it is, a choice. Don't put better or worse. You are judging. That's where you make it what it is not. That's where you put luck. Because seeing a choice as better or worse is absolutely luckful because you didn't choose it. You choose something else. So if you choose something else, is that is what you choose. You see that it's only you judging. And rightfully, you see that the putting hierarchy, putting numbers, value, better, worse, that is absolutely lack. That is absolutely unnecessary, because human is having a human experience, a human life, and you are having it. And all of that is precious, is what you want to have. It's your domain, it's you, it's your stuff, right? If you judge it, you are judging yourself. If you judge it, you are putting lack into it, and you are not valuing yourself. So you are refusing yourself, you are resisting yourself, you are not bringing you into any state of self-love. You are simply refusing you. And the perspective of whatever, yeah, of course, the human will put that in a human perspective. And you have to. You are in a human reality and you are interacting with humans. You cannot avoid that when you are co-creating with humans. But all of that, remember that judgment is what you have, you do it, you use it, do it with love, from a point of view of love, not from a point of view of degrading. Don't refuse the judgment as a tool that you have. Take it and do it, but from love, from acceptance. You accept. And that's what you did when you fucked up with Roxy. What have you instantly done? In the second you realize I fucked up, what did you do? You accept it. You judge yourself with acceptance. I fucked up. Okay. Right? That's what you've done. And that's how you do it. You judge it with love. We judge with acceptance, not with refuse. I judge you because I refuse you. Then you are not accepting yourself. You have always to see in what you do the mirror to you. I'm acting in this way. I'm saying this. I'm doing the why? Am I, oh, I'm refusing it. I'm judging myself. There is that you have to see in some of the things that you are doing. There is that mirror for you to understand yourself. But all of this you already know. You are doing it, right? You are simply not validating that for yourself. This is what you have to see. You do not validate yourself. You are not still seeing your worth. You are fighting against it to deny it. What is already there. And there you go. So you build it, you have it, you build it, you take it, and you use it. And it's there. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, well. You see, this is happening a lot right now. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Well, yeah. So this is Yoo-Li, Naga, and yeah. Right. Okay. there we go. That was really fun, and I'm very happy to have done this. I feel well. I won't say better. No, I don't feel better. I'm very happy. I wanted to do this, and I've done it. Go through like that. Yeah, it's already been longer than what I thought it will be. So I think that we are going to uh, finish this. And so thank you for every one of you that joined. It, well, I mean, right? You know. Uh, Thank you so much. And I will be seeing you in the next now. Keep building this, and well, I think, look, I think the message here that I want you also to convey, that, well, it's to me and to everyone, right, but principally and above anything else to myself, is exactly that. It's the value, it's that is already there. And I know that I have work to do with that, with perception and with the integration of what is there, to see it and completely make it aware. And that is that, right? We already are everything that, and we already know, right? Everything. Then there is the acceptance and the being it, and that is it, right? So be awesome, be you, be amazing, be have fun, and keep going, right? That's amazing. So thank you so much, and I will be seeing you in the next now. And well, already everyone already here co-creating. So in this moment, goodbye, and I love you all, and bye bye.